Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Aries for February 2016. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, and see more about my astrology blog and my other blogs. And if you're interested in learning astrology, sometime in February I will be opening up registration for my astrology apprenticeship program, which is great for you if you want to learn for yourself or if you want to do it professionally. So check it out. So what is going on in February? There's so many things to talk about, and some of the most important things to talk about aren't even happening in February. So let's talk about all of it. If we place February on the calendar for the calendar year and look at it in perspective to things that are happening in other months, it really makes this, that and among other things, it makes this a time for action. January was not really a time for action unless you were going back over things, unless you were working with things from the past. And February will still have some of that same energy of things from the past being indicated to be advanced. However, this is one of the best months for a long time, for most of the year, for actually taking action on something, because Mars is going to go retrograde April 17th, and Aries, you need to pay special attention to this. Everybody needs to know it. But Aries is ruled by Mars. This is your ruling planet. The nature of Mars is the nature of Aries. And when your ruling planet goes sleepy, bye-bye time, you are going to be very dramatically affected. I feel like, so April 17th through June 29th is when that actually occurs. But I feel like for many of you, this is going to be a welcome, wonderful thing. You know, I have Aries rising, and I have noticed that during Mars retrograde, I am able to chill out, and that is not something that I'm naturally very good at. You know, Aries energy is very active, it's very physical, it's very much in movement. You know, life is movement and going somewhere and doing something. And during the time that Mars is going retrograde, that edge of possibly overachieving or being overambitious can get taken off so that you can be like whatever a normal person might be like, maybe, whatever that means, you know? It can take enough of the edge off that it can feel like a welcome relief is what I'm saying. So I think that in many ways you'll really enjoy this time, but it's important to place February on the spectrum of this experience because the shadow period for Mars retrograde starts on February 18th. So it starts February 18th. The end of the retrograde shadow goes through mid-August or so. So that's 6 months pretty much of not having your full gusto, ambitions, forward movement, taking initiative. You're not feeling as strongly about moving forward, and the universe is not as supportive. So birthing things or new things during that time is not as much indicated. You don't have the support of your ruler, and you don't have the imprint of Mars being at its fullest. So that is part of why, even though Mars shadow period starts at the end of February, it's very light in its influence compared to how it's going to be. So that makes February a time where you can push some things through before things start to slow down. Still, things from the past are going to be better indicated because we still have Mercury retrograde shadow period going till February 15th, you know? So it's just kind of crazy. On first glance, you'd say half the month has shadow period for Mercury, half the month has Mars shadow. It doesn't really seem like a time to do anything, but if you put it in perspective compared to what's going on, it's actually the best time to do something. Now, something important to note about your plan for yourself is that it may or may not be the same as the divine plan, the one that the universe has for you. And so February is a great time and one of the best times to push through things that you think you need to do that may or may not be met with support from the universe because the eclipses are happening in March and February is prime time for eclipse news to come in. I'll talk way more in detail in the March report about the eclipses and what Aries can expect from the placements in the chart, etc. But that's its whole long other thing, so we don't really have time to address that now. But know that on March 8th, the solar eclipse at 18 degrees of Pisces is going to happen. On March 23rd, the lunar eclipse at 3 degrees of Libra is going to happen. And that influence can start up to 6 weeks beforehand. So the end of January, you may start experiencing the events, the circumstances, the news that comes in that is eclipse related that can be life-changing. Eclipse times are often game-changing times. And sometimes it's really awesome news. Sometimes it's really challenging news. Sometimes that news is hand in hand. You get awesome news and you get challenging news. But In any case, it's a time where you have an opportunity to get more fully on the page of the divine plan. So if you have this elaborate plan of what you think for yourself and you push through whatever feels ready, you don't want to force anything. If if it's really not ready and it feels like it's going to be ready in the time that Mars is in retrograde, don't force it to go through, because it likely will have an evolution, But things that feel ready to come out, or a version of them that feels ready to come out, you can push those through in February. But then the eclipses might come and say, yeah, actually, whatever you just did is not important anymore because now you're doing this. So you want to take advantage of the time to push through the things that you think are important to you, but you have to be flexible to see, is the universe on the same page? Because it may not be. And you can trust that process. And the less resistance you have to the plan that is revealing itself versus your plan, the easier your life is going to be and the more better quality of experience you're going to have. If your plan is in sync with the divine plan, then the things you do in this month may carry very far, because you'd have the universal support of the eclipses coming behind and boosting them. So that's a possibility. Now, just because something doesn't come and get boosted doesn't mean it's not in the divine plan. It just depends on where things are lining up in your chart. So these are two reasons why February is a good time for action. Another reason is that there are 6 60-degree angles occurring in the month of February, from February 3rd through February 13th. So even though that's in the time where Mercury, the ruler of communication and transportation and expression, is still regaining its full steam, think of making a U-turn, you slow down. That's what happens when Mercury stops going to retrograde. Then it's in retrograde as you're waiting to go the opposite way. Then when you get back into traffic and you're trying to get back up to 60 miles an hour and there's awkwardness there, that time between the time you pull out and the time you get back up to the speed limit, that's the time of the post-shadow period. So you've got that awkwardness from January 25th through February 15th, but it wanes every day that you get closer to February 15th. But here, we've got 5 or 6 aspects occurring in that first half of the month that will bring opportunities for you to do something with them. So we don't want to tell you, don't do anything in that time, because you may miss a chance. Just know that whatever you agree to or whatever you do may not have the shelf life you think it will, and it may turn out different than you think it will. But that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. Just be flexible, be open, try to not get attached or put too many stories around things. And it very much indicates support of things from the past. So if you have things you've done before and you're going to do them again, and it's like a new version of something you already did, this is a really great time for that. If there's something really new that you're wanting to launch, you still can try to do that, and it could be supported because you're not going to have a chance for a while to really do it. So if it's ready, then you can try to get it out. The nature of 60-degree angles is that they are sweet on their own. I am likening this month and these angles to baking pears. I love to talk about food analogies. And when you bake pears, they are yummy. So that's what a sextile is. A sextile is a 60-degree angle. And it's yummy, it's sweet, it brings sweetness with it. But if you do something with that sweetness, like you drizzle honey on the pears, then they're going to be that much sweeter, and that's what the nature of these angles are. That's what the nature of the energy of this month is, that sweet things that come, if you do something with them, instead of just, oh, this is sweet, and just sitting back, then they're likely to be sweeter. At the same time, you might have life-changing eclipse news coming in, and all of this is happening at once, So there are some fields of experience that Aries will likely have a lot of these opportunities come in based on where the personal planets are that are going to be having these angles. So all Aries placement, early, middle, and late, will have the potential for career, work, and life purpose support and blessings in the month of February and in the general time frame, a little before and some after. The 10th house rules your career, it rules what you do for work, it rules your purpose, it rules your interaction with authority figures, it rules your visibility to authority figures or people making decisions or people in powerful positions. You could have accolades and recognition, you could have advancement, and that's again why I'm telling you, if these opportunities are coming, don't be afraid to take them. Just know the nature of them may change with the way the transits are, but it doesn't mean that you have to not do anything. It just means it may or may not turn out the way you think it is, and just flow with it, Now, who is an early, who is a middle, and who is a late degree? If you have your birthday from the beginning of the sign around the 21st of March through the 30th or so, you're an early degree placement. It's basically the 30 degrees, the 30 days that the sun is in the sign of Aries. You break that into thirds. So the first 10 days is the first third, which is early. So around till around the 30th. Now it depends when exactly that year you were born the sun got into that sign, because sometimes that's staggered by a day, and that's going to throw off those ones that are kind of like cuspy in between. But in any case, the second 10 days would be the middle. So like around March 31st through April 9th. And then the last 10 days of the sign, the 10th through the 20th or 21st, whenever it switches to Taurus, those are the late degree placements. And the same if you're watching for Aries rising. 0 to 9 degrees early, 10 to 19 are middle, and then 20 to 29 are late degrees. Okay, so now that we've placed you in this early, middle, late degree spectrum, the early and middle degree placements may have opportunities that come in the 11th house. This is coming soon for you late degree placements, but it's not as active at this time. The 11th house has to do with internet-based activities, humanitarian efforts, anything with large groups or organizations, social media, acquaintances, friendships, things on teams, working with teams. So your blessings or your opportunities may come in that way. Your pears may be served in those areas that you get to put honey on. The later degree placements will have strong potential still in the 9th house. The 9th house has to do with everything Sagittarius, which is teaching, learning, education modes, modalities, locations, universities, places where you teach, religion, churches, philosophy, theology, anything that's like bigger picture stuff, different countries, different languages, different cultures, international business, international connections. All of those are 9th house. So late degree placements, you'll have some of the blessings come in that way. The early degree placements will have, and actually really early, middle, and late to some degree will have some partnership sectors accentuated. The early degrees have more of the 8th house, which is like partnership with resources. And then the middle and later degree placements will have more 7th house, which is just the nature of the relationship itself. So like 7th house is the relationship with you and your spouse, or you and your client, or you and someone else significant. And then the 8th house is you and your stuff merged with them and their stuff, so credit, debt, loans, grants, funding, inheritances, your money, your family money, your spousal money, things like that. So the earlier degree placements have more of that entrenchment partnership energy opportunity thing happening. And then the middle to later degree placements have the actual relationship themselves, the cooperation, the harmony, the interactions, the flow, more supported during this time. I am going to be posting a Jupiter blog as of around January 7th. So if you're watching this before, then it might not be up yet, but do check back. It's a very comprehensive blog about what you can expect from Jupiter being in certain signs and houses. So I'm going to tell you where your Jupiter is so that you can go to the site and read the ones that will be most relevant for you. So early degree, middle degree, and late degree placements all have some energy of Jupiter in the 6th house. Jupiter is the great expander. It brings expansion and luck and benevolence and opportunities to wherever it goes. And this is your 6th house of health, diagnostic tests, labs, procedures, alternative medicine, mainstream medicine, diet, supplements, your daily health regimen, animals, pets, caring for animals and pets, things like that. Also your daily work, wherever your work life environment, your experience of whatever it is that wherever you work can all be expanded tremendously. So early, middle, and late all definitely look at the 6th house. So if you go to anniehelpsyou.com and you click on the blog and then you put in Jupiter, then check out all the things it says about Jupiter in the 6th house. For you very late degree placements, you're going to have Jupiter retrograde back into the 5th house. So you want to go to the blog and read about the 5th house too, because as Jupiter is going backwards, it's going to be picking up some things that didn't finish there in the 5th house that have to do with true love and romance and creativity and children and hobbies and fun and pleasure. So check all of that out. And while you're there, definitely sign up for my free email newsletter, become part of my community. You will get a monthly write-up of the month ahead, and I often give different information than I talk about in the videos. So between the videos and whatever blogs I refer to and the written forecast, you'll have a really good picture of the things going on. So you can do that, and then definitely check out my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine. So if you go to anniehelpsyou.com, click on programs, click on Shine, then you can see more about my sliding scale for this program I put together to help you bust through the things that are interfering with you living your best life ever. And if you've been interested in learning astrology, either just for your own purposes and self-exploration, or to do it professionally, then sometime into February, I will be opening enrollment for my astrology apprenticeship program. So if you mesh with how I teach, then you may be a match for that program. So look out for that on my website, and you can always email me if you need more information if it's not up yet. And I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.